From the southernmost point of Dorne to the lands of always winter, and what is west of west and the shadows in the east, this is Casterly Talk, episode 58. And once again, we are recording live here on YouTube. And I'm happy to have some people joining me live in chat. Got some questions pre-selected. We got some phone calls as always. And just for today at least, you have me. It's I, Ken Napzok, your host. For those who might be checking in a little bit later on YouTube, who haven't followed me too much, I'm definitely from the no more for the Star Wars world, but have been covering Game of Thrones for places like Screen Junkies with Watching Thrones, Colliders, Thrones Talk Show back in the day, and even The Night is Dark with Tiffany Smith, Maud Garrett, and Michelle Boyd, and I've been hosting this show, which used to be called Daily Thrones. God, I was just looking at old episodes, 2017, I believe it was, and now here as Casterly Talk. So happy to be talking with all of you. I watch and take in Game of Thrones, books, shows, whatever, from the emotional standpoint first, and that leads me down those paths of discussion. I appreciate it. The reason I say this is as I do this show more and more on YouTube, you're going to find people that every once in a while I'll not have an exact fact. Every once in a while we'll misspeak when you're doing a live show. And if you want to correct me in the comments, that's great. That's great. I'll have an opinion of you, but you can go do that if you want. So we got some people in chat for those watching along live on YouTube or a little bit later on YouTube. Christy McGee is here. She's got some crazy pigtails today in her profile picture. I love that. She says, I love this music. Yeah, this music is it's a generic purchase music. You know, you got to get licensing, take care of all that kind of stuff. And I've always been a fan of it. You know, of all fake Game of Thrones podcast music songs, that's one of the good ones. Hey, on the show today, we're going to be talking about a couple mysterious women in Game of Thrones. I mean, I think Game of Thrones is full of a lot of great mysterious characters. These are two of my favorite. We're going to be talking about Melisandre, and we're going to be talking about Qorth. Just diving into them a little bit. Also have some, like I said, some questions, some phone calls, some stuff about casting, which I am never good about predicting casting, but I have an answer, at least for one of the questions that is coming. So before we get into what we're going to talk about today, this was prompted by a phone call, and I love our phone calls. Those voice messages, phone calls, whatever. I'm old. Technology is what it is. Come to us from Anchor. This podcast is, as a lot of you know, found wherever podcasts are podcasted, but it's housed on Anchor. And if you go to the Anchor app, you can find a link to leave a message to this show. I love playing them in the show, and now especially live here on YouTube. So we will be listening to this call from a regular contributor, the wonderful Eric Monroe, with this phone call that prompted some thoughts in my brain.
Hey, Ken and Casterly Talk. So when I did my last Game of Thrones rewatch, one thing that really struck me was even though Melisandre was wrong, she was also kind of right about some things. In the season 2 finale, she prophesizes to Stannis 3 betrayals. She says, you will betray the men serving you. He betrayed Sir Davos when he sent him back to the wall under a false pretense because of what he was going to do to Shireen, which leads to you will betray your family. And finally, you will betray everything you once held dear. And the everything you once held dear part, I really feel it was himself. He lost himself along the way. I've said that before. So I find it fascinating that even though she may have been wrong about him being the one, she was right about a lot of things that ended up happening. So what do you think about Melisandre being wrong, but also being right?
Oh, Melisandre. Me and Eric Monroe love Stannis Baratheon. It's an affliction we have. And Stannis's journey is intriguing to us, which I always say there's great lessons to be had in the rise of Stannis and definitely the fall of Stannis. Melisandre is the reason for a lot of it, is behind a lot of it, is definitely the inspiration of a lot of what goes on with Stannis Baratheon. But let's focus in on Melisandre's story, her journey, and her big mistakes. I think, again, I approached it, and this is mostly show only. In the books, Melisandre is equally as fascinating, if not more. Hey, she pulls a couple more maneuvers, man. She burns a little bit more smoke baby demons to go get the job done. But this is focused here, at least in this one, on show only, and Mel and her, of course, relationship with Stannis Baratheon. I always say this. I think her story, as the way it plays out, and spoilers for those who, on the off chance you haven't watched season 8, I think the way her story plays out is one of the more complete stories, one of the most satisfying stories for me, though there's some big questions to be had with Melisandre. I believe the big question for me about Melisandre is she all in on Stannis Baratheon, or was that some kind of stepping stone to get to where she needs to be? I keep thinking about this, and I love that there isn't necessarily, again, that the answers aren't all there. And I love, and George R. Martin, sometimes the answers are right under the pages, in between the lines, and other times you have to dig, and other times, especially with the show, you don't get all the answers that you want. And as we do this live, Kristen McGee adds, and her fantastic wardrobe, which gets better and better as the season goes on. That's one thing just on the surface with Melisandre. You know, she's got a theme, some red robes, easy on, easy off robes, and they just get, I think they get better. I think this photo I got here, I'm playing a little bit, by the time she gets to the wall, man, she's got some detail. She's not just wearing what she was wearing like season 2. Just right, let me throw on a red slip and a red riding hood. No, she's got some designs going on. And also, we can't go any further without discussing Kris Van Houten, who just I think is remarkable, perfectly casted. She's one. I follow her on a lot of social media or see her in other things. You as a performer don't want to be completely locked into a character, but she just seems, she's Melisandre to me. Like I am intrigued, but I don't trust her. And she's very talented. She's a singer as well. She's married to Guy Pearce. We can go down that Kris Van Houten discussion on another time. I start back at the beginning with Melisandre, and just, I believe in my heart that she is all in on Stannis, and that's not just important for Stannis because that gives him the inspiration. And I'm fascinated with the stuff we don't get with Stannis, not to completely veer this to a Stannis Baratheon discussion, though I'm sure Eric Monroe would appreciate that just as much as I would. I think Melisandre's not just there to serve Stannis or Jon, Arya, or other people in the story. She's got a lot of responsibilities in other people's story, but I'm trying to focus, I've been focusing a lot lately on Melisandre's journey as her own. Because again, I think it's really satisfying in the end. And in order for that to begin, I really believe she's all in on Stannis Baratheon. I believe she's found a way. I think, Thoros was sent over to convert Robert Baratheon. Maybe there is something going on that, back at Kinvara and the home team, when they're handing out the assignments, all right, Melisandre, you're going to head on out to Westeros. Thoros, he's drunk. We can't find him. Maybe it was the wrong Baratheon. Again, we don't know 100% of that. And Eric Monroe is live in chat, and he points out, talking more about the show and the book, she might be, there's a lot more there, which I love to have. Dealing with the show only, I think, because I think as producers and writers and these people, directors putting the show together, I think when you start planning this out, I think for it to work, I think it works best on the show. She is all in on Stannis Baratheon, and she's confident. She's cocky. She's sure of herself, and she should be. She's got skills. Maester Creston, old C.O. Bibble himself from the Star Wars prequels, Oliver Ford Davies, challenges us right away. And we have already a lot of respect built up for the Maesters by the time season 2 has come around, right? Maester Lewin, we loved him. House Stark, we wept when he was gone. We Grand Maester Pycelle, we might not like, and he's pulling his own little tricks, but we understand he's got some authority, he's got some skills. We're not fully aware of what the Citadel's all about, maybe going into season 2 on the show. But here comes Maester Creston, and he's giving you the along with Davos, giving you the Stannis, come on, don't do this, giving you that kind of context, and Melisandre, boom, takes him out. What an opening sequence. What an opening episode for Melisandre. The fire, the flame, some of that great stuff, and then just the downing of the poison like it's wine, like it ain't no thing but a chicken wing. Down goes the maester. And that's why I think she starts off there with a purpose. They're believing it. And that leads her, look what she does with the shadow baby demon monster that we all are both repulsed and intrigued by. We're like Davos, yeah, but we can't look away. She's dropping people, man. She's making magic happen, literally, and she's just firing the flames of passion in Stannis. By the way, every time I'm around a painted table replica, and they got those, sometimes they go around the displays at Comic-Cons and whatnot, I can't help but go to the end of that table and just be like, good job, Stannis. Anyways, I think, though, as the show goes on and more and more things start happening, and we start to learn more of her. The stuff with Stannis's, a wife in the bathtub, where Melisandre admits, yeah, some of this is smoke and mirrors. As she starts to lose her faith, I don't like to call them mistakes as much as just like she's starting to figure out, maybe I did make the biggest mistake of all. Maybe this is something I just was wrong on. Stannis Baratheon, I was wrong on. And then she meets Jon Snow, and it's clear. The big question, this is, again, might play out differently in the books. And in a way, I hope a lot of things play out differently in the books so we can finally untangle them a little bit. I think the books, I think the books are always going to inform the show and inform us viewers, but I'd like to see them untangled a little bit. And not that I want George to go, start rewriting or redirecting a lot of the story. I want him to stick with what he's got. But the idea for Melisandre on the show to start to be like, I have made mistakes. What is my purpose? What am I doing? What is my power? And it's all unraveling because Jon Snow is potentially what she thinks he is. And I do believe she's pretty all in on Jon as Azor Ahai, Princess Promised, again, slightly turned around the show. And I think I'd love to know, the moments with her and Daenerys Targaryen are spectacular. And I think she should be rightfully wary on behalf of Jon for Dany and all that kind of stuff. But I think it comes a little bit later. I think as with Jon, and yeah, Eric's saying this, yeah, you can see the second Stannis is told half his army is deserted. You can see her reaction. She knows it's over for him, and she knows it's over for her. She's going to skedaddle because skedaddling's a good thing to do. But along the way, she is right. She is right about Arya. Arya Stark, she's in her ear, quite literally. It's one of the more intriguing things, right? The whispers, all the eyes she's going to shut. So this path of Melisandre, the mistakes of Melisandre leading to her completely losing confidence, and even the revitalization of Jon Snow doesn't seem to fully, it seems to bring her back in. Now she's a free agent. She's a little more loose out there. Just kind of her allegiances to me are more to the bigger picture, which now fuels into what I love. What I love about the character of Melisandre, and what I love about Thoros and Kinvara and all the Red Priests and Priestesses and the stuff that Lon Harris and I were even talking about live last week on the episode and in previous episodes. This idea that the Red Faith, R'hllor, the religion of light there, I believe they're the ones who are still right. I know that's not an answer we'd necessarily get on the show, and I don't think you could be bogged down in that. But I'm fascinated, and Melisandre's journey kind of leads me all to that. She's got them powers, man. And when she shows back up, what a great return! Lighten the Dothraki blades and sending them off, to their doom, but pretty cool along the way. She's there to save the day. It's her purpose. She's there to remind Arya everything, and there to send Jon on her way. So I think all of that fuels in, and it has to start from this very confident place of all in on Stannis Baratheon, and then it slowly unravels. And I think along the way, I think if she had, if the confidence hadn't started to crack, then I think she would have maybe made different calls or would have been more sure of herself. And that's what's intriguing. But the point, all this that I'm getting to is Number one, the red faith might be the one that's right. I'm not here to throw in not here to throw in on religions and pick a side in Game of Thrones, but as it plays out on the show, as the theme, it's a little bit of a redemption story. She's made all these mistakes. She's done horrible things. She doesn't fight a lot of it either. When Davos confronts Jon with what the truth is of what Melisandre's done, I like that Melisandre, isn't going to be but. She knows what she did. She knows what she did, and she knows she's got to go make it right. So it's a story of redemption. It's a story of where Stannis' obsession with something that might rightfully be yours, something that is the right path, and how obsession with that can cause you to lose yourself. I think that is the story of Stannis, which is why I like the character even beyond just me liking him as just hey, he's a grump. I really do believe the greater purpose of Melisandre in the show, in the story, when you follow the emotional things, is to really show what happens when you lose your confidence, when you lose your own way, and how do you get it back, and how do you pay for your own sins. It's its own kind of redemption, and it plays out so well. And her final moments are chilling in a wonderful way, and chilling scenes. Eric Monroe brings up another thing of her. The nothing Jon Snow is another chilling scene. Yeah, that's at the wall. Jon, I don't think, has been going around telling a ton of people. You know what Ygritte used to say to me? He was really cute. So for Melisandre to know that, again, we know she has powers. She knows she had powers. And it's more and more intriguing as she loses them and fights to get them back. The Melisandre taking off the necklace, which, I know, we know it's been off before. But taking it, I think when you take a bath, you're allowed to take off your sorcery jewelry. I don't know. That's just me. But when she takes it off and reveals actually who she is or how old she is, I am very much fascinated by the story we have yet to get to Melisandre. I think her mistakes lead to a lot of resolutions, and I want to get to know more. Some of my favorite quotes about or from her, between her and Davos, when Davos asks her at one point, this isn't a Clash of Kings, are you good or evil, my lady? And they do translate this to the show, I believe. But when she says back, oh, good. I am a knight of sorts myself, sweet sir, a champion of light and life. Point of view is very important in Game of Thrones. Point of view is important. When you're putting together a villain, you always hear a good villain's got to believe he's a hero or she's a hero in her own story. Those are just simple writing tactics. But I really think, and dialogue isn't facts, but I really do. I do think Melisandre believes she is out there trying to win the day, and that's where it all ends up. Kristen McGee says magic bath rules. That's true. Davos watching her die and what she really looked like was very poetic, says Eric Monroe. And what a great moment for Davos. Davos and Melisandre's relationship has been rocky. It's at best, right? I do love some of the stuff with Melisandre where, she's all ready to get rid of Davos Seaworth, and she says him a few times back in the day, where even Stannis has to point out, you see Davos, that red woman you hate so much, she's keeping you alive. I think that is part of Mel. Again, not necessarily good in the big picture, some things she's done, but in her heart, Mel's going to do and use who she feels is right to further her goals. So that is some of my thoughts on Melisandre as prompted by Eric Monroe. I love your guys' questions. I love getting to them. And we've got some coming up here in a second. But first, I wanted to, in looking up a little bit about Melisandre, just kind of go reliving some of the moments. I was looking ahead to the books. And I want to keep, we want to make sure we're discussing both the books, shows, maps, coloring books, whatever. This is not just a look back at HBO's Game of Thrones. This is a look ahead of what's to come. And Winds of Winter, at some point, I have faith. We all have faith. We must keep faith. Winds of Winter, A Dream of Spring, they're going to come out. George is going to get it done. I've just decided to commit to that feeling. One of the answers I do want in a book series that is just full of so many questions. The reason we're kind of discussing Melisandre's show only is if we were to go into the books, I don't have the time to research it right now, and I don't have the time to discuss it with you all. We don't have 6 hours to sit down. But one of the characters I want to know more of, and I love the purpose of her in the show, even though it is much more short, and that is Qorth. Qorth from Ashai, the masked-wearing woman, the intriguing masked woman who runs into Dany, Jorah, and the team over in season 2 in down there in Qorth, the greatest city that ever was and wherever will be. It's the Bret Hart of cities. She has some great interactions with Jorah Mormont, some very important interactions. And the thing about Qorth is, and I was one of those folks, you can go find video for sure here on Casterly Talk and other places where I would have put good money down that Qorth was going to come back in season 8. I think all the articles, and you can go find, I was reading some stuff on Ringer. They have great Game of Thrones coverage. And by the way, I always say, this isn't like Star Wars. They got a little, come to me for some answers. I love going to a bunch of different places. History of Westeros, Alt Shift X. I still do go to from time to time. Ringer's got, because I got great coverage. Go seek all this all out. Take in all the theories. Take in everything about these, and come back here and we'll hang out and have fun talking about all of it there. But I was absolutely convinced Qorth was coming back and had something to do with Jorah's healing. I like it being tied to Samwell Tarly. I'm fine with that. Did we get should we have gotten more Qorth in season 8? No, I don't necessarily think so. Not for the show. The books, though, Qorth is a spectacular character and very much tied in to Daenerys Targaryen. She has a lot to do with Daenerys Targaryen. Uses glass candles to communicate with her from afar, even after the events of Qorth. We have her, I believe, in my heart, I believe, connected to Marwyn the Mage. Marwyn, not a character that featured. I thought Jim Broadbent was going to be Marwyn, Maester Marwyn. Not so much. Some fascinating stuff there with Marwyn. Marwyn traveled from the Citadel, from Old Town, traveled far, far east, connected to Mary Mazdoul. There's a lot of little references along the way. I believe Qorth is connected to him in some way. The glass candles and some of the biggest, most important prophecies given to Dany. And we're only, 5 books in, only, thanks, George, come from Qorth. And a lot of them are, again, season 2. Season 2, this is why I say when we're just talking about season 2, or just talking about the show, season 2 definitely became one of my more favorite seasons because I had a little bit of letdown coming out of the great season 1, coming out of just being tossed into this world. Season 2 comes along and it's different and new characters. And I like that Melisandre, I like that Stannis. We got figured out. Go back to season 2. If you're doing your rewatches, focus on season 2. Focus on the things, the predictions, the conversations, not just the cool moments between like Arya and Tywin, but what they mean. And Piet Pri, the House of the Undying, and all those visions, I really think just add weight to that season being very underrated and one of the most important ones. Qorth is there. So because she's so important in the books, and she gives the prophecy to Dany that is very important. She says to Dany, to go north, you must journey south. To reach the west, you must go east. To go forward, you must go back. And to touch the light, you must pass beneath the shadow. I absolutely believe that she is telling Dany very early on. She, number one, said, don't trust anybody. And when you're reading these things, these prophecies, you could have a lot of fun with them, but you're in the moment, especially on the show. You're in the moment. What do they mean? Dany's dragons are missing. Qorth has given Jorah some information on that show, especially, but in the books, it's like, all right, you're focused on the mission at hand. Dany's dragons are gone. But that's just, I think the greatest story is Dany the dragon is missing. And we're trying to get Dany, the young girl, to become the dragon that she is already being and supposed to be and will be. I think a lot of what Quaith, it's pretty much on the surface. I think a lot of the prophecies and theories around Quaith, what she's saying to Danny, just like, and again, this is where I think the book's still heading down this path. George could do some changing, but I think it's still important to head down this path of Quaith basically saying, you got to burn things down. And don't trust anyone around you. Don't trust your advisors. There's the great sequence there of her just running down a list. It is just a list of a lot of book heavy characters, the Mummer's Dragon, all those kind of things. We won't go if you haven't read the books, and I know there's some people in chat who haven't read the books. It's basically a laundry list of problems coming for Danny. So that's why Quaith in the books is really more important, and it appears to be more important. And she's just really tied into Danny. And I was thinking there, I love the idea. And Alt Shift X, I know Alt Shift X didn't enjoy maybe season 8 as much as I did or others people. That's fine. But the research that goes into those videos are so great. Go watch the one on Quaith and go watch the one on the theories. And this really doesn't factor into, I don't think, anything that we need to know as readers or definitely show watchers. I really do believe within I don't know, 60, 70% that Quaith is Shira Seastar, who is would make Quaith well over 100 years old. And hey, look, with Melisandre being around a bit, and that kind of tracks in the books as well. She talks about Melisandre books. In the books, we know she's been practicing her magic for some time. I'm paraphrasing, but it's kind of explained there. Quaith, Shira Seastar, in short, is tied to Bloodraven, the three-eyed raven, the three-eyed crow in the show. Bloodraven's lover, and there's a lot with her mother who practiced dark arts, and it's just an interesting. And again, those things could be absolutely nothing. And the problem is we can't separate. That's when I say you can't separate the book from the show. Sometimes Quaith pops up, and I'm like everyone I'm looking in season 2. Quaith pops up. I'll bring her up here again and live on YouTube. I mean, look at that mask, and which is the same symbol that Melisandre has around her neck. The intrigue, the pretty eyes, man. I'm like Jorah. I'm pulled in. Like, what is going on here? I need to know more. So when you start doing the research on her, and you figure out her bigger place in the story, I think it's natural to think and want more. You want more of her there. But the Shira Seastar stuff doesn't necessarily have to matter. It could be completely wrong, but it's intriguing. Look it up. It's kind of like when Force Awakens, when Starkiller Base popped up. I was one of the ones very early on who was like, oh, I think that's Ilum, the planet of Ilum from Clone Wars, and very important to the Jedi. And then it took a few years, but it was finally proven. So that's right. Quaith is the Starkiller Base of Game of Thrones. Sarah Grizzly live in chat says, I always wondered if Quaith would pop back up with Arya and Bravos. Yeah, that was a good spot. Good thought for her to be there. The purpose of the show, and we'll come back to, we'll tie it all together back to why I brought up Quaith. The show moment with Quaith, and I'll bring the picture up again live in chat. I only pulled a couple elements today. She early on is pretty forward with Jorah. She knows what's going on. She knows who he is too. Just says it. He can't hide there. So when he goes back, the dragons are missing. Everything's going on. If Eric Monroe help me, the dragon's been missing by this point. Gosh, it's been a while since I watched season 2. We got to go back. We got to go back and catch up. She in this moment, what's interesting is she's painting on a naked man. You could see some man bum there. She's painting on some protective symbols, spells, whatever you want to call it. She's painting on him there because he's got to sail past old Valyria. And this is season 2. She says plainly to Ser Jorah Mormont, all who travel close to the doom must have protection. What happens, of course, later on, season 5, Jorah, Tyrion sail right through the doom. Man, beautiful look at old Valyria. And next thing you know, you got the grayscale. If we'd only known. If Jorah had paid attention. But again, he is so focused on what is at hand. Daenerys Targaryen, her dragons. What the hell is going on in Qorth? And he is suited up. That's right. He's just got the armor on, man. So the dragons, I do believe, if memory serves, already missing by that point. Things are already weird. But Quaith's purpose in the show, clearly smaller, and I think it is tied to Jorah. If you rewatch this scene, she's giving him a warning, which he doesn't barely pay attention to, understandably. She challenges Jorah. You love her. Ian Glenn plays it so well. He knows that. She already kind of put that in his mind, but he can't deny that. But he knows what he did. He knows what he did. Before she gives Jorah any answers, Quaith has got to ask him the tough questions. Will you betray her again? Never, says Jorah Mormont. And that's true. Not even just from a certain point of view. He's already done the betrayal. He's kept that from Dany. That's what costs him. The betrayal definitely cost him. And then keeping it secret from Dany and Barristan Selmy definitely cost Jorah. So Quaith is there in the show. They use her to serve a big purpose for Jorah Mormont. And he's got to face his truth both ways. And in that scene, Jorah's not quite ready. But it's a bit of a thesis statement, a topic sentence for the essay that is yet to flow out for Jorah. He's got to face the truth going forward. That he does love her, and he will never betray her again. So he knows that. So everything he tells Dany going forward is 100% true. But he's got to face the past. He's not ready for that, of what he did. I think it's important. And yet, Ranger Donald on chat points out where he says, Ranger Donald Long says, when you think some scenes mean nothing, they pay off season later, sometimes in small but important ways. Yeah. So that's why, to me, Quaith is important in the show. And it's a small little sliver. And that can lead to some disappointment if you're book heavy, or you get to be book heavy, like me and a lot of people did after season 1. Leads to a little disappointment. I was a little disappointed that by season 7 or 8, Quaith didn't come back. It wasn't part of Jorah's healing. It wasn't some big theory confirmed. But again, the show's got to pare everything down and go to the emotional cores. Quaith was more there for Jorah's heart and purpose than other things, particularly with Daenerys Targaryen. But that's not the case in the books. And I really, as we look to Winds of Winter and we start to look toward Winds of Winter a lot more here on Casterly Talk, I'm really hoping we get at least some answers. I don't want these dangling participles of characters, George. Come back, give us an answer, give us a little something. I know we're not going to go to a shy. We're not expecting to really spend too much time in a shy, but I'd love to see a little bit more of this there from Quaith. What do you guys want from Winds of Winter? I want to know. Let me know. Let us know going forward here on Casterly Talk. If you are getting prepped and ready for Winds of Winter, what are some of the characters in the past? What are some of the dangling plots that are book only or book heavier the books? You know what I mean? Let us know here. A couple questions. I want to get to questions here from my Discord server. You can support me on Patreon, patreon.com/Ken Napzok. That's not just for Casterly Talk. That is for the Napzok Files. That is for the upcoming Box Score Heroes podcast feed. If you're a baseball fan, find that. And any writing, any other material, stuff on Twitch, it's all there. Patreon.com/Ken Napzok. And you get access to my Discord server. We got a couple questions there. There was a couple questions for last week's show. Sarah Rissling sent a great one for Lon Harris. And then the conversation went a direction I didn't know it was going to go. So I didn't get to that one there. And Ranger Donald had a great question for Lon and I about favorite and least favorite books in the series so far. Which character or storyline in the book only did you wish made it into the show? So we might address those ones a little bit later. I also got a couple calls on Anchor from Ashton. Ashton, if you're out there, you got a great call in that I am waiting for the right time and the right panel to answer. So that's what happens there too. But going back to Discord here, where I got some good questions from Kristen McGee. Simple question. I love this one. Which house or kingdom would be where you'd like to be quarantined? You all know, oh man, I have the wrong hat on today. I just have a plain black hat for those watching live. I have my Night's Watch. Let me get it here. Well, hold on. All right, yeah, there you go. That is my Night's Watch hat. A little dirty, a little dusty. I love the Night's Watch. You all know I love the Night's Watch. I think that's where I'd be. Just seems. I don't know if, when the shivers hit Westeros back in about 59, 60 AC, I don't think there's no place you could hide. I still might go there, but I'll tell you what, if it's very cold. Christy McGee says in live chat, it's very cold, obviously, but the spirit of if I have to be quarantined, I might go to Dorne, and I don't like hot weather. Might go to Dorne. Sarah Risley has a great not Bear Island. Yeah, Bear Island's a great choice. Bear Island's a really good choice. I might head there. That's in fact, you'd be locked away. But I think I'm playing like now. I'm very fortunate to be. Ranger Donald live in chat says hi garden. See, I'm thinking of a quarantine lockdown. Like I am. I'm very fortunate to be in this house I have renting right now with a backyard and a garage with a gym, and I got some comforts. I got some creature comforts. I could be locked away in a quarantine. High garden might be. Oh man, I think I'm going high garden. Dorne's too hot for me. I can't do the heat. Beautiful people down there. Great culture. And they're already kind of locked off anyway. So they kind of but they're self-sustained. Oh no, Christy, I thought this was going to be a simple question. Tamor live in chat chooses Dragonstone. I think I might go high garden. Just for the climate. A better compromise. Out there on the reach. Sorry, Christy. She's apologizing. We got definitely not Trey asking this question here. Is it reasonable to expect a smaller story scope with House of the Dragon, less world-spanning than A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, and more of a focus on character development? Thanks. So this is the great question here. Not keeping completely updated on any of the House of the Dragon news. I think we're here, again, at this point, I've heard whispers and rumors. It's the Dance of Dragons. It's the Targaryen Civil War, all those kind of things. It's based on Fire and Blood is kind of, to me, the only thing we do know, and that stretches far and wide. Just book 1, about 150 years. We haven't got the book 2. Maybe they're basing it somewhere in there. Ben Wellington in chat says, hey, thanks for the super chat, Ben. He says, Dragonstone. Always just myself on an ancient island. In his profile picture, Ben's got a Minnesota Twins hat on. That's kind of like, you're up there. It's almost like the Wall. But Dragonstone, he and Tamor choose Dragonstone. I think if Dragonstone, going back to that question, the reason I choose High Garden is they got food, they got supplies. They might be tied a little bit into some of the other houses in the other lands there, the kingdoms, where Dorne is self-sufficient. At least they think of themselves as that. If Dragonstone or even Storm's End, it doesn't matter. Any cast, Bear Island, if it's fully stocked in a shivers lockdown quarantine situation, that's where I'd want to be. Dragonstone, though, we only see a tiny bit of it, really. It's drafty. High Garden might be a little more cozy. When I'm in Vegas, I don't go hang out by the pool. So that's why I don't think I'd go to Dorne. We'll see. Going back to Trey's question there, House of the Dragon. Here's the thing about House of the Dragon. I love Trey's question here and what this might mean. This idea that HBO's just had Game of Thrones, which is giant. And you have to take the whole world. Westeros, Essos, a lot of stuff has to be squeezed into those 8 seasons. And for my money, they did a really damn good job. Was it perfect? No. Could it have been perfect ever? No. With House of the Dragon, if they're based on this book, and they already got to slice it down. They already got to focus. Do they want to focus on the picture of Westeros at that time? If it's a Targaryen civil war, do you just want to focus on, that's pretty big. You got a lot of dragons fighting. And we talked about that recently on Casterly Talk. Dragon on dragon action. Giggity. That's what I think we want. That's what I think the people want. And, in the end of the day, I'll take it. I would have intrigued by the pilot we'll never get. Very excited about House of the Dragon. Intrigued by the spin-off prequel on the pilot that did not go, because it seemed, and Eric Rowan says, chat echoes my thoughts, Blood Moon isn't going. Yeah, it seemed it might be, gives a chance. It was going to be a lot about the state of Westeros at the time, obviously, but chance to go a little a little smaller. I think House of the Dragon will potentially be a little smaller. I don't know. You won't have to deal with some mysterious dragon queen over in Essos. You won't necessarily have to deal with a threat coming down north of the wall. If it's after Aegon's conquest, the politics of the land certainly aren't settled, but there's a little less intrigue going on. We have a ruler. No one's trying to usurp that throne. There's problems. There's little fires springing up, but really the fires are with the dragons. And if you can say that focusing on the Targaryen Civil War is smaller in scale, smaller in dragon scales, pun not intended, then I think that might be my answer. That's what they will have to do, and that you won't get as much of the history in Game of Thrones. Going back to the beginning, old Nan telling the stories. The history is just uploaded into your brain early on in that show. You kind of got to figure it out. You got to know it if you're going to get the deeper enjoyment of the show. You can just watch it on the surface. Absolutely. Regarding House of the Dragon, some live questions coming in. Donald Long says, I hope it's HBO quality and not HBO Max quality. Ooh, sick burn. Even though now we don't know how the shows on that will look yet. Yeah. So, and that's kind of backed up a little bit by Ben Wellington. What fascinates me would be a new group of characters just dealing with a different period, and right down on that sweet HBO quality. That's going to be, I think, the biggest challenge. This is going to be the biggest challenge for any Game of Thrones prequel that was going to be in development and leaked out, or not leaked out, but sent out into the world. HBO's Game of Thrones set the bar. It took the bar and tossed it so high up in the air, created new standards for not just TV, for movies, obviously. Look at the stuff we got by season 3, 4, Watchers on the Wall, Hard Home season 5, the season 6, just the whole season is beautiful. And the battles get bigger and bigger and I think better in some cases. But I still think the Battle of Blackwater Bay is my favorite battle on TV because of what they had to do. They couldn't rely on some of the bigger things. That happens a lot. But I mean, I'm all in on Long Night. That's me. Different discussion. But yeah, House of the Dragon's got to live up to that, especially if you're putting dragons in, especially. And the quality of the shows, it's talk Star Wars again, The Mandalorian, which I do love. I just completed a rewatch of Mandalorian, though I do watch every episode 2, 3, sometimes 4 times when I'm breaking down episodes on Force Center. And back in the day in the old Collider show, but I just did the first, let me sit down and rewatch this season. And I love a lot of it. I love The Mandalorian. I love the characters, man. I'm all in on it. All in seems to be my phrase of the day, by the way. Thanks, Melisandre. But despite the great technology in use there with the volume, the set they use, the VR set, I think it's going to get better. I think season 2, it did not have the budget, and a lot of it doesn't look great for me. A lot of it looks like what they shot it on. And I think House of the Dragon cannot be that. No, we don't know too much how HBO Max is going to play out. We know, this we know we don't know. I agree with you guys. The standard has to be really high. If it slips at all, it's a little. Mandalorian's different. It's the first live action Star Wars TV show. We are not going to hold it up to the standards of any of the movies, any of them. It's the first out of the gate. Now Kenobi, Cassian Andor, any spinoff from the Mandalorian, and I do believe there'll be a spinoff of the Mandalorian. You're going to hold up to that standard of what came before. So House of the Dragon has that. Yeah, and Sarah Rissling live in chat says, Battle of the Bastards might be the best battle put in a screen. That's what she says. So Eddie Haskell's here, says that VR set is nuts. Yeah, and to be clear, the Mandalorian VR set, they call it the Volume, is bonkers. It's crazy. We're going to see the behind-the-scenes stuff. I'm really supportive of the, as much as I love the Star Wars prequels, if some of them were shot on that kind of scenario, like even the Hobbit films were, they're just some of the actors had issues, acting opposite green screens and blue screens and tennis balls and all that kind of stuff. If you can take a lot of that out, I really think Mandalorian moved the ball forward. It just a little bit more money need to go into it, and I think it will. So, yeah, back to that House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon. High standards. All right, final question of the day here. Oh, man, I didn't think I was going to go this long today. Thank you all for sticking if you're watching live here. This final question comes from our friend Tamar, who is in chat. Here we go. Tamar, you're up.
Hey, Ken and Casterly Talk, folks. This is Tamar from the Shadows of the East. Hope you're all safe and doing well. I started my rewatch recently, and after watching Season 1, Episode 10, Fire and Blood, I started reading the book itself and have completely immersed myself into it. I enjoyed reading about Aegon the First's conquest so much that I ended up reading it twice. I'm curious to know what some of your actor/actress selections would be for Visenya, Aegon, and Rhaenys in House of the Dragon. If that question has already been answered in a previous episode, which actors/actresses, aside from the ones who won't return, would you like to see from Game of Thrones portray any of the characters in House of the Dragons? I don't have the words to express my admiration for House Targaryen and how much I'm looking forward to seeing their history on TV. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Much love for everyone and stay safe. And if anyone gets too close while you're out and about, just yell, Dracarys.
Dracarys. There we go. Kristen McGee says, Tay covers all his bases. Loves Taymor's questions. This is casting. I'll say this. I'm not good with casting. I am not good. Anytime I'm on those internet debate shows or on a panel and someone asks, who would you want to be in Star Wars? My answer is like, Charles Dance. I don't know. But specific casting. I did think about this. I try to come up with a good answer. Now, I got to tell you, for Visenya and Rhaenys a little more, a little more, dare we say, violent. I don't know. Take the hair colors out of it. Get a good wig. Get a good makeup. We've seen Emilia Clarke's transformation. Harry Lloyd, Viserys, he was not a blonde-haired gentleman. You can switch that around. I'm not worried about direct look, but age range, all those kind of things, taking them into consideration. Roughly what? I mean, Aegon, at least in the book, 27 years of age. I can look that up here. Yeah, roughly born 27 BC. That's right, but well, let's look. Let's double check. Okay, so Visenya, a little older, 28. She was born about 28 or 29 BC. Then you got Rhaenys. How old is Rhaenys? Roughly younger. She's the youngest of the bunch, 25 or 26. Okay. So I don't have. I casted I casted wrong, but I'm all support. I'm all in my idea. I think and this is the question. This is for if House of the Dragon ends up being about Aegon the Conqueror at all, whether you see the conquest or not. I don't think if I'm putting money down, I don't. I think we're going a little farther along Dance of Dragons. But let's just say that, hey, we got dragons, we got conquest, we got something that people are generally familiar with. That is kind of a sell too, by the way, to just general public. Again, it's not what I think they're going to be doing, but let's just say at any point we have to cast these characters. I would want to do the Emilia Clarke route of relative unknown. I think it's important for Visenya and Rhaenys going kind of unknown. We don't want to see someone we're overly familiar with. We don't want Lady Gaga to show up. I'd be supportive of her being in Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, but not as the main character, right? But and I don't know if this is fair to Visenya or Rhaenys. I don't know if it is. But if it's Aegon, if you're casting Aegon the Conqueror to put in a big time show starring, this is the lead, right? I do think you have a little weight to it. Not unlike Ned Stark being Sean Bean, everyone else relatively unknown, other than some of the character actors and everything, but the main cast, relatively unknown. Not a lot of people knew Emilia Clarke and Kit Harington before Game of Thrones, right? Sean Bean is there for the anchor. Lena Headey there for the anchor. Dinklage, people know, but I think Sean Bean was kind of on the poster, right? That's why a lot of us fell for the Ned Stark's the main character kind of trap. I thought about it. I think he's a little older than what we got in the book age, but HBO has shown they don't have a problem aging some characters up to fit the needs of their production. I might, and his name comes up so many times, particularly in Star Wars, and I'm never super excited about this character in Star Wars. This guy. I think he's a great actor. But I would, as Aegon Targaryen, follow me here, as Aegon the Conqueror, Michael Fassbender. He's got the gravitas that we like. I think he's got the cheekbones. He's got the build. He's got a lot of TV Targaryen to him. Put him in a wig. You need to make his eyes purple or whatever you want to do. I don't care. But I think I could see him conquering Westeros. I'm not great at this fantasy casting, but Tamor, that's my choice. Give me some good unknowns. Aegon the Conqueror. It's a name we've heard for a long time. Michael Fassbender might be my choice. Because I also buy Fassbender. The thing about Aegon is after he conquered, things relatively peaceful. Things relatively smooth. Maegor kind of came along and messed things up. But once Aegon conquered, things were okay. Fassbender, I think, could bring me the conquering side and the peace side. Tamor says it's a great choice. Eric says it's a great choice. If I have their love, that's all I need. That's all I need in life. Thank you all. So I don't know. Again, I don't know if that's the best choice. That might be my choice. You have a choice for who you want to see playing Aegon the Conqueror. Let me know. Let me know in the comments below. Or if you're listening on the audio podcast, which is still the main home of Casterly Talk and the main purpose and drive of Casterly Talk, reach out. Let me know here on Anchor. So had fun discussing one of my favorite characters, Melisandre, today, discussing one of my favorite mysterious characters, Qorth. I don't have all the answers. I don't pretend to have all the Game of Thrones answers. I go out just like you as a fan, pull it all in and discuss the emotions, our feelings around these characters, and where we want them to go, where we wanted them to go, and things we hope. We are going to start looking more towards Winds of Winter here on Game of Thrones or Casterly Talk. What show is this? This is Casterly Talk. It's been a long week already. I am broadcasting on a computer I'm not generally familiar with. I want to thank you all. Thank you all in chat. And what's this chat? Eddie Haskell says Entertainment Weekly just tweeted 9 years ago the first GOT episode debuted. 9 years. That's crazy. That's crazy. I remember where I was. Sarah Risley says, wow. Yeah, when an impromptu celebration, 9 years. When we get to 10 years, we really go back. 2011, wow, it seems like so long ago. I remember where I was. I remember the bedspread. I remember the tiny little bed, my old apartment on the tiny little TV, and me tuning in going, all right, I guess I like Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit films I'm not quite there yet on them. I'm not a D&D guy. Respect it. I played Dragon's Lair in the old arcade. Let's do it. Let's see some dragons. Let's see what's going on. Oh crap, ice zombies. I'm scared and I'm pulled in, and then the history pulled me in, and I forgot about dragons, forgot about ice zombies. The world pulled me in. So I don't know. Maybe that's what House of the Dragon needs to do as well. Well, Ed, thanks for that last minute anniversary reminder. If you have any other thoughts, don't forget to call in here on Anchor. Leave a nice message. You have about 59 seconds. So go ahead and do that. And don't forget, you can follow me at Ken Napzok. Go to kennapzok.com for information on all the things I do. If you're a baseball fan, my podcast feed, Box Score Heroes, will be on its way. It's up there. You can find it. Follow it on Twitter at Box Score Heroes. Subscribe and get ready for episodes celebrating everything in baseball, past, present, and yes, I do believe in the future. Thank you to Kristen McGee, Tamor, Eric Monroe, Sarah Risley, Eddie Haskell, Ranger Donald, Ben, everyone else here. I'm going up in chat. I don't want to miss anybody. If you were watching along, we appreciate those watching Casterly Talk live here on YouTube. But that is it for now. We'll see you all next week. Bye.